All right, good Monday afternoon, everybody. Welcome into Marsh Does Sports. My name is Marshall, and today we have a great show on hand. We're going to be covering three topics. First, we're going to be stopping by the MLB. We're going to be talking about the return of Moneyball and kind of the situation of payroll versus wins. Then we're going to move on to some NFL news. The Netflix show Quarterback. There have been a lot of denials so far from a lot of different quarterbacks. Joe Burrow just was reported that he is expected to be kind of the star of the second season, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk some Colts, more NFL, Jim Irsay versus Jonathan Taylor, what the back and forth has meant. There have been some allegations that he may be faking injuries. He said that he never said that, so we'll cover it all. We're going to go into it right now. Okay, guys, we're going to start today's show with some Major League Baseball. I was just kind of strolling through Twitter, doing my daily, sports soak up in the morning, and I just started thinking about how some of the younger guys in Major League Baseball, their teams are coincidentally doing well, and two came to mind right off the bat. The first was Elly Cruz with the Reds. He has injected life into that franchise. He has kind of turned them around. He's turned them into a winner so far, vying for first place in their division. And the other one is Adley Rutschman. I know he's not as explosive and as in the news as Elly Cruz is, but the Orioles are rolling. They're first in the AL East, and it just seems like he came on the scene and that happened. They just kind of started exploding. So I started thinking to myself, okay, the Reds and the Orioles, they are two franchises that they're not known as big spenders. They don't go out and get free agents. They kind of it's almost like they're a farm system for the Yankees and the Dodgers. They just bring these guys up. They have great seasons and then they move on elsewhere. So I started kind of doing some more research just to see how payroll compares to winning percentage here in the 2023 season. And I found some pretty interesting stuff. So I looked at all 30 teams, their payroll for 2023, okay? And I took the top 15 teams who have the highest payroll and the lowest 15 teams who have the lowest payroll, above average and below average. And I totaled up their winning percentages and then divided by 15 in each section to get an average. And it was pretty interesting. The top half, the highest spenders, their average payroll was $210.2 million for this year, and the bottom half's payroll is $115.3 million. So they're off by $100 million roughly, right? 95. So the top half spends much more than the lower half, okay? And you'd think that the winning percentages would reflect that. So I did an average of the winning percentages of the top half and the bottom half, and the top half's winning percentage is 0.495, and the bottom half's average winning percentage is 0.505. So basically what that means, I know that's a lot of numbers, but basically the bottom half of Major League Baseball in terms of payroll has a better winning percentage than the top half who's spending the most money right now. I think a couple of different things have brought that stat to become what it is. I think the rule changes in baseball have lended themselves more to athleticism, speed, youth, things like that. It's not so much the days of when Major League Baseball was you either hit a 450-foot home run or you strike out, and those guys are making the most money, and the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Padres gobble them all up. They still gobble up players, but I think modern baseball is starting to lend itself more to youth, speed, and athleticism, which comes from your farm systems, like Adley Rutschman, like Elly Cruz. And so when I started looking at all of those statistics, it really was shocking to me that the bottom feeders essentially have a better winning percentage than the penthouse, right? And then I started thinking about the Mets, the Padres, the Angels. They are consistently in that top 15 in terms of payroll. They always seem to fall short, right? They just never seem to be what the hype is. And then you look on the other half, you go to the bottom section. You got teams like Tampa, like St. Louis, like Minnesota. They always seem to be vying for first place in their division every single year, and they're consistently in the bottom 15 teams. So I think what that lends itself to is that farm systems matter. Farm systems matter. grooming your young talent, drafting well, that all matters. So when they come up, these lower spending teams do well, right? Like I said, Tampa, St. Louis, Minnesota. But I did some more research. That's good for getting to the postseason. That's not good for winning the postseason. So I looked into it, and I wanted to know, okay, what was the last team to win the World Series being in the bottom half of payroll? And that team was 20 years ago, the 2003 Florida Marlins, who came in at 25th out of 30 in terms of opening day payroll. So it's been 20 years since a team outside the top 15 spenders on opening day has won the World Series. So youth matters, farm systems matter. These are some interesting statistics, but when it comes right down to it, if you want to lift the World Series trophy, you have to spend some money. You got to be in that top 15 percentage. That's what history tells us. So then that takes me to another point of baseball. Baseball has struggled with viewership and keeping up with the NBA, Major League Baseball. They're almost in a class of with the NHL right now, right? So I think the implementation of a salary cap would just do wonders for Major League Baseball. It would put them on a growth trajectory similar to the NBA. That's what I think. Because if there is a correlation with spending the most money with winning, that eliminates more than half of the teams every single year, right? Obviously, like the Florida Marlins, someone can come out of left field. But if history tells us you got to spend money to win, then the teams that aren't spending money, what's the point? Whereas in the NFL, everyone's got the same amount to deal with. Everyone's on the same playing field, and that's why it's so electric. That is why it's our sport, our nation's national sport. So I think salary cap, increased views, but it's pretty interesting stuff. Okay, next up is Netflix's Quarterback. Season 1 came out not too long ago. It was absolutely fantastic. It covered Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, and Marcus Mariota, kind of the top tier, middle tier, bottom tier, right? And I think they're trying to replicate that for season 2. But Netflix started kind of panicking because they were getting a whole bunch of denials from a whole bunch of quarterbacks. Some guys I thought for sure would jump at the chance. I thought someone like Justin Fields, he'd hop at that chance. He said no. I know Jalen Hurts said no. And they all kind of cited, no, we want to focus on the season itself. So who steps up to the plate is the second best quarterback in the league in Joe Burrow. He is expected to be kind of the star of season 2. So that is pretty interesting, especially him with the calf strain just happening, that whole ordeal. Apparently Netflix captured all of that going into the season. So we'll see how it goes. As a Bengals fan, I'm not too thrilled about that. I'd rather just focus on football. I know there's some crazy statistic like the last 14 teams on Hard Knocks failed to make the playoffs or something like that. So I know anytime these shows come around and the cameras are around and they draw attention, they draw scrutiny, I know it's never a good thing. And I thought it was interesting though that there were so many denials from guys who like I said, expected to jump at the chance. For fame, publicity, better social media followings, anything like that, right? And they were all saying no. And then I started thinking to myself, well, why would someone like Burrow and Mahomes say yes? What would be the point of that? You get less privacy, more scrutiny. Guys at that level, they make so much money already. They don't need the extra money. And it just seems like a hassle, kind of. So I don't really know what the incentive is there. But I think it's pretty cool that season 1 featured the NFL's best quarterback that we have to offer, and season 2 is going to have our second best quarterback that we have to offer. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's nice. I know Netflix came around and Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl, so hopefully the same luck happens for Joe Burrow. Hopefully the cameras swarm and he's wearing a Super Bowl ring and Cincinnati's happy. But we'll see how it goes. Should be interesting though. Looking forward to it already. Okay guys, our last topic brings us back to the Colts. I covered the Colts yesterday. The whole debacle happening with Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay. I gave my opinion on kind of the start of that whole feud. I think it's just bad for the league, bad for the Colts. It's a bad look overall. And there have been some interesting reports, kind of some more back and forth between the two. So Stephen Holder reported that, I'm going to read it verbatim here, the Colts are considering placing Jonathan Taylor on a non-football injury list for a back injury, which could result in Indianapolis withholding his regular season pay. His regular season salary, sorry. And then Jonathan Taylor tweeted, and he responded, and here's what he said. This is what the tweet said verbatim. He said, 1, never had any back pain. 2, never reported back pain. Not sure who sources are, but find new ones. So I think what's happening is I think the Colts are afraid that Jonathan Taylor is going to report to camp, and then he's going to have some kind of injury that sidelines him, and he's going to just ride the bench, collect checks, kind of avoid that year of getting banged up on the franchise tag while collecting money. I think they're assuming that he's going to do that. There's no implication that he will, but to me, that's what this whole situation reads, that the Colts are afraid he's going to do that, right? But Jonathan Taylor's response says, no, I never said any of that. I don't know what's going on here. And it's an overall mess. It's a really bad look. And I know Jim Irsay, he floats around Colts camp every year, and he's just so involved. I gave my thoughts on that yesterday. Just a nuisance. And apparently he had a meeting with Jonathan Taylor on his luxury bus that he kind of flits around at camp, and the guest on the bus was Jonathan Taylor. And that was 2 days ago. I assume that meeting did not go well, since there's shots being fired over the bow from both sides on this whole mess. But the outlook overall for running backs in the NFL just is absolutely bleak. And I think this is kind of a misstep, though, by Jonathan Taylor, too. And his agent, the Colts were his only shot at getting money, that real money. Franchise tagging players. I know it's, that 1 year uncertainty, running backs get beat up, but $10 to $11 million is better than no $1 million. So, if you're Jonathan Taylor and you're a running back with how the current collective bargaining agreement is in the NFL, I think you just got to suck up and play on that franchise tag, do your best, try and get another one. And, that's a guaranteed $20 to $22 million. That's no chump change. So I think it's kind of a misstep. I think JT should just buckle down, run angry, try and make that money. But if he holds out, I just don't think it's going to go well. We have one real example of that. It's Le'Veon Bell, and it really, really did not work. So I hope Jonathan Taylor doesn't go that route, but I hope the Colts clean up their act too and take care of their guys. So we'll see how it goes, but Colts are a mess, and can't wait for the NFL season to start. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of today's show. It was a relatively quick one, not a big sports news day, but it was a lot of fun. Talk some baseball, talk some football. I'm on here every day, daily sports content, news, takes, all that stuff. So like this video, comment down below what you want to see in further videos, what you thought of this one, and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss an episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow.